Reading with your kids.
Hey, so great to see you. Come on in. Hi, my name is Jedley, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We are coming to you from the beautiful neighborhood of Reedville in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. We are so happy that you are part of our beautiful Reading with Your Kids family, especially today, because we are getting ready to celebrate such an important family day, Mother's Day, with our guest, Jodi Darter. Jodi is coming back to the show to speak to us again about her book, When You Lived in My Belly, and to celebrate all things mom. Before we begin our celebration of motherhood and Mother's Day, we want to let you know that we'll be celebrating STEM and STEAM. That's right, science, technology, engineering, arts, mathematics, with a great series of episodes we are calling Solve It. We are producing these episodes with our buddy, our dean of all things STEM and STEAM, Jennifer Swanson. This is really, I am so happy about this podcast. I mean, we get to answer questions like, what it's like to live in space, and I'm not answering that question. We get an astronaut to do it. Solve It premieres here on the Reading with Your Kids podcast on May 19th. May 19th is just around the corner. You don't want to miss it. So please be sure to subscribe to the Reading with Your Kids podcast on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, Podbean, Podchaser. You get it. Wherever you find your podcast, you can find us. Don't miss it. Solve It comes to the Reading with Your Kids podcast on May 19th. Joining us on the line right now from right outside of Boston, Massachusetts. I could probably yell out the window and she could hear me. She's returning to the show. She is the author of a Reading with Your Kids certified great read, When You Lived in My Belly. Please welcome back to the show, Jodi Darter. Jodi, how are you?
Great. How you doing?
I am great. This is the first Jodi has heard. Our panel has come back, and they have agreed that When You Lived in My Belly is a certified great read. So congratulations on that.
Well, this is why I'm great. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Well, you know, everybody, myself included, love the book. There's so many great things, and you have been on the show before talking about the book, but we decided to ask you back because Mother's Day is right around the corner. And what a better way to celebrate Mother's Day than to talk about that whole act of when your kids lived inside your belly. Remind everybody what the book's about.
Sure. It's a month-by-month storytelling of pregnancy from both the perspective of mom and child. So you go through all of the milestones that babies achieve in utero and the corresponding, emotional and physical changes that moms endure. And it just gives kids a better understanding of that whole journey that they have no recollection of. But of course, us as moms and as parents, we clearly remember that journey that we took together. So it's a great way to celebrate that innate bond and to get them kind of deepen your relationship with your child.
Yeah. I am way too old to have any pictures of my mom, when she was carrying me. I don't even know if they had pictures back then. But, now with social media, every expectant mom has different pictures of, the different stages she's in. So it's going to be really easy for kids to kind of look at those pictures and say, yeah, that's you inside there. That big bump is you. But imagine, like you were saying, it's like, yeah, I hear the words as a 4 or 5 or 6-year-old. I hear those words. I can repeat them. I don't really know what it means, though.
Yeah, the whole experience is pretty surreal. I think for everyone involved, really, when you think about it, it is so miraculous what happens during pregnancy. But from a kid's, vantage point, they see pregnant women walk around and they are full of questions. The whole book was based on a question that my son asked me. One day he just asked me when we saw a pregnant woman while we were out shopping. He said, "Mom, what was it like when I lived in your belly? Because I had made that connection with him,
Mm-hmm.
that he grew inside my belly. He wasn't delivered by a stork. So he understood that, but it just takes a few times to actually connect and say, wow, I actually lived in there, and what was that like? So it really sparked an idea that I had to pursue. And I did that to honor my mother, because my mom, who I loved so much, she died in 2013 from ovarian cancer, and her dream was always to write a children's book. So after she died, I had to fulfill that dream. I just lacked an idea, and that brain freeze was pretty much consuming my life for quite some time until that serendipitous day in the mall with my son.
We've heard that from so many authors, and we've had a lot. We're over 700 episodes here.
Wow.
But it's so many authors have talked about, there was this, I wanted to do this for so long. I didn't know what to write, and then I had this inspiration, and so many times it comes from our kids. What a blessing. Kids are a blessing anyways, but what a blessing it is when they can inspire us to really step it up and to achieve something we've been dreaming about for so long.
Yeah, I mean, it really was incredible timing, because, as I said, I was completely stumped, and I was really overwhelmed with grief. So at that point, but I wanted to do something so bad to honor her memory and everything she meant to me and still means to me. So it was really just an incredible gift that he gave me, just asking that question. And it took me several years to see this out, to see this through into fruition. I actually engaged my best friend since kindergarten to illustrate the book. So it's really a labor of love in every way possible.
And it's such a beautiful memorial to your mom. And it's such a healthy way to deal with that grieving process, and you said it took a couple of years. A lot of times it takes us, for some of us, it takes us for the rest of our lives to kind of deal with that process of losing somebody that's so important to us. And I think that you did it in such a healthy way for you, and such a great way to honor your mom. And, as a result, you're helping families along the way. Again, what a wonderful tribute to your mom.
Yes. Well, grief walks alongside me every day. But that crippling beginning stage of grief, really is what I was discussing before. It's like that was really the stage I was in when I said I have to do something. And, obviously when you go through grief and that kind of overwhelming pain, it takes on different shapes and it ebbs and flows through the years. Sometimes it's really, more towards the back of your mind, always there, always present, but sometimes it's at the forefront of your mind, and it really depends on where you are and what day it is, But this is definitely a tribute to her, and I always say I did it too, that my mom and my son are the only two in the world that know what my heart sounds like from the inside. So they're connected and we're connected, and, celebrating the bond between a mom and a child is definitely something I'm proud of.
I'm wondering, did your relationship's not quite the word, but your perception of your relationship with your mom, or your perception of your mom, did it change as this book was coming to life?
Without a doubt. It's funny, when my mom was alive, she would always say, when I had my son, now you understand the depth of my love for you. And it really clicked, because until I was a mom and understood just how overwhelming that love is for your child, and how you would just simply do anything to help your child, that's the love that she felt for me. So it really helped make that connection, my whole pregnancy. And then, of course, after I had my son, just how that bond, that unbreakable bond, and how deep it is.
Speaking about doing anything for your son, there's a lot of parents out there that are experiencing this now. A lot of moms out there. This is going to be the first time in human history that pretty much the world will be celebrating Mother's Day under quarantine, under lockdown, under stay-at-home orders in some cases. So many moms have stepped up who never thought that they'd be a teacher, have stepped up and were suddenly thrust into the role of homeschooling teacher, you included. Can you talk a little bit about that experience and what's that been like for you? We've had teachers on and principals and talking about they're dealing with the change to virtual classes. What's it like from the parents' perspective?
From my perspective and from a lot of my friends' perspectives, it is incredibly challenging. I mean, this is an unprecedented time, and the burden that we're all carrying is just immense. I mean, some days you want to pull your hair out strand by strand because you have kids who are, they're not used to you being their teacher. I mean, it's completely understandable. Their whole lives have been turned upside down. Everything that they know and love has been taken away from them to a large degree. We're talking about school and seeing friends, and it's going to be camps and sports and activities, just everything that makes them whole, and just them has been ripped away from them, and it's a very scary time. So you have that element, and then of course you have the parent-child dynamic, which of course on any given day can be incredible and can also be challenging because they're your child, and you have to discipline them and you have to correct behavior and you have to push them at times to do the work that they need to do, and they're not used to seeing you in that role. So it's really hard. I mean, I can't imagine, and if there are parents who find this, not really challenging, then seriously, kudos to you. But for me, this is definitely a role that I shouldn't be in. I am not a homeschool teacher. I work full time. So, a lot of parents are juggling work demands with now, being a teacher, resident therapist, activities coordinator, exercise partner. All of this stuff is now on the shoulder of moms and dads out there. And I think that everyone is doing a fantastic job, regardless of what you believe. There are definitely days where at the end of the day, I'm like, you know what? I could have done a lot better today, but you have to be forgiving of yourself because this is just a time that, we're living a part of history right now. And we'll look back on it. This is the time, where our parents would say, I used to walk, for 5 miles when there was no bus, going to school in the snow. This is what we're living right now. This is what the kids are living and what they'll tell their grandkids someday.
Yeah. Yeah. One of my buddies who is a principal at a school not too far from where you are, he came on the show, and one of the things he shared with parents is, and again, he was echoing your sentiment that parents, you're doing a great job. You were thrust into this. You had no training. You had no warning in some cases. All of a sudden you wake up one morning and boom, here you are. It's for a week. No, it's for 2 weeks. Now it's for months. We don't know when it's going to end. And so he was, and one of the things he reminded parents of is, hey, at the end of the day, I get to send your kid home to you. You can't send your kid home to anyone. You can't send your kid outside to play. So yeah, I agree. This Mother's Day, this is probably the most important Mother's Day for a lot of reasons, but more than anything, because moms and dads are stepping up in such a big, big way.
I mean, they're incredible. We should all be wearing capes at this point, right? I mean, at this point, I don't know. It's really difficult in every way, but also because, at least for me, not ashamed to admit, I mean, I'm a college graduate and everything, but sometimes fourth grade math completely stumps me, and I have to go in the corner and Google, like, what is going on here? Because now, an entire different way of math that I have, to be honest with you, I've not learned.
Uh-huh.
I'm supposed to be teaching that to my child. So, it's not a simple equation here.
Yeah.
Any day. And these kids too, I mean, their worlds, everything that must be going through their minds every day, it has to be so overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
You can't go anywhere. You have to stay confined to your home. If you do go anywhere, you need to wear a mask and you need to stay 6 feet apart. So you have to be extraordinarily wary of anybody,
mm-hmm.
not just strangers now.
Mm-hmm.
You can't hug. I mean, my bonus daughter doesn't live with us because she's in her early 20s. And, my son has not been able to hug his sister for months.
Mm-hmm.
This is really hard. It takes a big emotional toll on everyone, but certainly on them.
Yeah.
So everybody's nerves are frayed. Everyone is anxious and wondering what's going to happen next. And honestly, what almost set me off were these, murder hornets last night. I couldn't believe this, that's the new thing that we have to be worried about at this point. So, we have to all be understanding of each other and just do what you need to do to get by.
Absolutely. I saw something about the murder hornets. I decided not to read. I said, I got enough on my mind. I don't need to.
I mean, these are 2-inch hornets, that you now have to introduce that notion to your child too during this whole pandemic. It's beyond belief to me.
Well,
to be honest with you.
It is. It's an unprecedented time, and we're all going through it. We all need to support each other. One of the things that I posted, and I think it's important for us to remember too, is that, we're all going through the same storm. We're all in the storm together, but we're not all in the same boat. My wife and I, our kids are grown. And, we think back and we worry about them. They're not in the home with us. We're concerned about them. We talk to them all the time. We can't hug them. We're able to bring things to them and leave it on the ground and, walk away so they can pick it up. But it's a very different situation than if they were 3 and 6 or 13 and 6. It would be a very different situation. So, and again, my wife is a teacher. I am an entrepreneur of sorts. So we're able to get by, but there are a lot of families out there who aren't, and they're out of work. And there are a lot of families out there that are out of work and don't have access to as government support that everybody else is getting. So we need to remember that and show kindness to everyone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's an incredibly trying time to everybody, and there are varying degrees of it. But we all have to just acknowledge that and try to err on the side of kindness in every single way, because we all need it at this point.
Something that just occurred to me is that, as a mom, when you have a child living inside your body, it's an alien being living inside your body. I know it's you and your DNA, but it's, it doesn't necessarily belong there. And it's trying and it's difficult and it's stressful for the mom. But you get through it and you deal with the pain and the uncomfortableness and the changes in your body. You do it because of that love and that kindness. And then when the child comes into your life, it's just such a wonderful feeling. I'm hoping that we can kind of have that. Hopefully it's not 9 months, but hopefully we can kind of have that spirit here where if we're helping each other get through this time where there's this alien invading all of us and threatening all of us, and if we can help each other get through this, we can look back on these times and recognize that it was hard, but it was also we came together and there were some really neat things that happened during this time.
Yeah, without question. I mean, Americans are incredible and definitely resilient and come together during challenging times. That's been proven, time and time again throughout history. This is no exception, and I definitely have seen these incredible acts of generosity and people just willingly putting their lives at risk without even having adequate equipment to protect themselves. to help and be on the front lines. Just selfless human beings in this country. And I'm really proud to, of course, be an American and be a part of the fabric of this nation, because people do rise up and they do overcome. And this too shall pass. It's just a matter of when. It's just a really hard time right now. And, Mother's Day is not going to be the same this year. My son's birthday is on May 19th, and it's a milestone birthday. He's turning 10. And, of course, that's not going to be the same. But we have to deal with what we're dealt to the best of our ability.
Absolutely.
And I think collectively everyone's doing that. And, again, everyone, I strongly suggest, and I remind myself daily, to be forgiving of yourself and meet kids where they are. If they're having a really rough day, just try again tomorrow.
Absolutely. You were speaking about coming together, and that's one thing that we can't do physically anymore. And one of the biggest disappointments I know for you is that you had this great big Mother's Day live event scheduled for the big Barnes and Noble here in Boston to have a live reading of your book, and that can't happen right now, and that's a shame. And I can't do my live magic shows with a crowd of people. My daughter and can't promote her concerts, but we can come together virtually, and we can come together through technology. And so you've taken this disappointment of not being able to be in Barnes & Noble with the folks in Boston on Mother's Day, but you're inviting the world to join you online. Tell us about this special event that you're planning.
Yeah, so I had the second leg of my book tour planned. It was supposed to launch April 25th at the Barnes & Noble in Manhattan on the Upper West Side. And, I'm sorry, actually Union Square. And unfortunately, obviously, given what's going on, everything has been canceled. So multiple dates. The one that I was planning in Boston for this weekend was obviously going to be, on my home turf of my first big event in the city. I've done some events, in the suburban areas. So I, like everybody else, you have to pivot with the times and adjust, right? Don't panic, adjust. So I decided to, again, just in honor of my mom, even though it is a motherless Mother's Day for me and it's tough, like it is for a lot of women out there, but I still have, this incredible gift of being a mom and bonus mom. So I wanted to do something to celebrate with other women and parents. So I'm going to have two events, one on Facebook at 10 o'clock on my Facebook page, which is, Jodi Darter 1 on Facebook, and then one on Instagram, which is Jodi Darter at 1 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday. So the day before, not wanting to interrupt the actual flow of Mother's Day. So it'll be the day before, just like it would have been for my bookstore event. So I'll be reading When You Lived in My Belly, and happy to answer questions. It will be my first Facebook live event and my first Instagram live event. So hopefully it'll go off without a hitch, but I'm really looking forward to connecting with people on such a special weekend.
Sometimes those hitches are the most fun parts of those events.
At this point, we have murder hornets, so everything is relative. I can handle some technological glitches at this point. I'm homeschooling, working, it doesn't matter. Chef, therapist, technological whiz here. Who knows? So let's bring it on.
So we're talking about this Saturday, May 9th, and the Instagram starts at 1 o'clock.
Yep.
And the Facebook Live starts at?
10 a.m.
10 a.m. So what a great time. And one of the neat things about the Facebook and the Instagram Lives is that it is interactive, that you'll be able to not only hear Jodi reading the book, but you'll be able to talk to her and ask questions. Do you think this is something that mother and child would be interested in?
Yes. So I definitely encourage everyone to log in with their child, because it's a children's book, but one that speaks to both moms and children. So it's one that you can definitely share with your child and have that discussion afterwards about your whole pregnancy bond and what it was like with them when you went through that journey together. So it's meant to spark conversation and, of course, deepen understanding of pregnancy. And, I look forward to connecting with everyone online, and feel free to ask questions. I mean, I am happy to answer them.
Now, the neat thing is, it's difficult. We can't go out to the bookstore to buy the book, but I'm assuming that it's available as an ebook?
Yes. So there's two formats. Of course, there's the hardcover format, and it's also available, as an ebook. And you can find it on Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Target. I mean, it's available everywhere. Yeah. The books are sold online.
That's exciting. So, if you want to get ready for it, you can order the ebook now and sit down and kind of start reading it with your kids, or after you listen to the live read, either on Facebook on Saturday, May 9th, or Instagram. You can listen to the reading and then just pull out the Kindle, or is it Kobe?
Yeah, I mean, it's actually in another format too. It's on Audible. So you can get the ebook, you can hear it on Audible for however many credits it is. I don't know, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, the hardcover version. And that version is great because there's a special area of the book designated to write a personal letter to your child about your own pregnancy journey. So it becomes more of a keepsake that can live on in the family forever. There are pages in there to put photos or mementos or whatever you want. So it becomes almost like a hybrid, children's book, but there's also like a scrapbook keepsake element to the book.
Yeah.
And I know that it ships pretty quickly too.
Good.
On Amazon.
I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, how cool would it be? How cool would it be if we have a mom, the child, and the grandmother all listening together, and then hopping on to Zoom and just sharing. I'm imagining the kids would just love to talk to grandma about when their mom lived inside their grandma's belly.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's really a way to just, like I say, reinforce that innate bond that you share with your child. And get them to understand, like you said, the family tree. That grandma and mom went through this together, and you and mom went through this together, and that this is how our journey differed from your sister's journey. When she was in my belly, I was craving oranges. When you were in my belly, I wanted pizza. Whatever the differences are, it's interesting for children to learn what they are.
Absolutely. Yes. I remember my wife with my son. It was steak and cheese sandwiches at all hours of the night.
Every single pregnancy is dramatically different. They're all so individual that, there's something to be told. And all of these anecdotes, they'll find fascinating, because sometimes you can make that connection where, I always craved citrus fruits. And my son to this day absolutely loves grapefruits and oranges. So, I mean, obviously I'm not a scientist. I don't know if there's a real connection there, but for him to hear that those were real cravings for me, in addition to, chips and other not so good things. But those are two healthy cravings I'm highlighting right now. But he loves those fruits.
That's awesome.
So it's fun for him to hear.
Well, I want everybody to make sure they mark in their calendars this coming. We're publishing this on May 6th, so in just a few days, May 9th, live on Facebook, live on Instagram. Facebook starts at 10 a.m. on May 9th. Instagram starts at 1 p.m. on Instagram, and those are Eastern times. So make the calculations.
Yeah, Eastern times, and on Facebook, my page is Jodi Darter 1. And then on Instagram, it's just Jodi Darter.
Awesome. Well, we've had such a blast speaking to the author of When You Lived in My Belly, Jodi Darter. Jodi, Thanks so much for all you're doing for your kids. Thanks to all the moms out there for all they're doing for their kids. And thank you for being back on the show.
Oh, always a pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.
Please be sure to join us for the next episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Our guest will be Daniel Williamson. He'll be talking to us about the benefits of kids learning different languages. If you are the author of a fantastic children's book, we would love to help you tell the world all about it. One great way to celebrate your book is our Reading with Your Kids Certified Great Read program. You heard earlier that Jodi Darter's When You Lived in My Belly is a Reading with Your Kids Certified Great Read. What does that mean? It means that our panel of educators, kids, and parents believe that Jodi's book was worthy of 4 or 5. In Jodi's case, it was 5 out of 5 stars. When your book receives the Reading with Your Kids Certified Great Read status, you also receive all sorts of great tools that can help your book stand out from the crowd of books that are published every single month. Check it out today. Go to our website, readingwithyourkids.com. Click on the Author Services button at the top of the page. You can find out all the information you need. Want to thank the folks who made today's special episode so very special. Of course, we want to thank our guest, Jodi Darter. Please be sure to check out her book, and please be sure to join her for her live Facebook and Instagram read on May 9th. Also want to thank my incredible team, starting with my amazing producer, Fatima Khan. I want to thank my awesome author ambassador, Peggy Cotto. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. I want to thank you. Thank you so much. Parents, you are doing such an incredible job keeping your kids safe through this pandemic, teaching them, entertaining them, enriching them, loving them. You are making the world a better place. Thank you so very, very much. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.